I call it your homework. I call it your pre-sourcing homework is just really making sure that gut feeling that there is an opportunity. Again, most likely there is, like you felt it for a reason. So I say lean into that. Don't be discouraged if you happen to find something in the market that is similar. Try to work on what makes yours different, right?
Mhm. Do you have a brilliant product idea but don't know where to start to get it made? Or are you looking to level up your product but afraid to take it overseas?
If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jackie.
And I'm Erin, and we are
The Sourcing Gals.
your trusted guides to everything you need to know about sourcing, manufacturing, and scaling your product overseas. Whether you are just starting out or you've been making your own product for a while, we are here to help women source products overseas without the overwhelm.
In each episode, we'll share insider tips, actionable strategies, and inspiring stories to help you source more effectively, save time, and boost your profits. Duh! We know how hard it can be to juggle the ins and outs of product development, but don't worry, we've got your back.
So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into how you can grow your business,
Make more money.
and turn your products into profit. Welcome to
The Sourcing Gals. Now let's get started. High five.
Hi.
Welcome back to another episode of The Sourcing Gals. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite questions I get, which is, I have this great idea, but now what?
I love that one.
So good, right?
That's my favorite.
That's where you come and find me again, that party trick, right? Come find me at a party and let's talk about this great idea you
Give me
have.
2 glasses of wine, and we will solve all your problems.
Awesome, totally. So so we are going to talk today. There's a lot of things that actually need to happen long before you start sourcing.
Long before you ever come talk to us.
Yes, long before. So a lot of times when I get this question, I come back with a little homework checklist. So we're going to give you all the free homework checklist for
Yes.
those that have a great new product idea, but need to do a little bit more work maybe before you're ready to talk to those factories, before you're ready to get going on the product.
Well, I think that is the hallmark of why we're here, is that there's so many things that you wouldn't know.
Yes.
And a lot of those things happen at the very get-go.
Very
You have this
beginning.
idea. Where do we even go from there?
Yes. So I'll say when people come to me with that question, obviously a lot of products are born from a true need. Like we have these light bulb moments, these epiphanies,
Absolutely.
these product ideations because you experienced something or there was something you needed and you couldn't find it, right?
Mhm.
So you create it. So I think step one is really understanding, is that truly the landscape?
Yes.
Is it something that maybe just didn't appear on Amazon? Or is it truly not in the market? Or is it there's something in the market, but there's something that would make it that much better?
It's not quite what you want. It doesn't
Exactly.
capture the need exactly.
So step one, when people come to me and say, I have an idea, it's really understanding that we call it the competitive landscape in corporate retail, really understanding who else is in the market, what are they offering, and not just what are they offering, what price, and how are they selling it? Are they in retail? Are they selling it online? Understanding how you as a brand are going to have to differentiate yourself or differentiate your product when you go to market. And I also say if it is a product that is, let's say, somewhat in existence, maybe a version of it, buy it, test it, use it, understand the pain points of it, right? What is going to make your product stand out and be that much better?
I think that's perfect because a lot of people, it's been my experience that a lot of people, they don't want to do the research. They don't want to find
Yes,
something
it is.
that's going to encroach upon their idea. It might deflate their excitement, but utilizing it to your advantage, like you said,
Yes.
if you find something similar and you can buy it, use it, determine what it's lacking, and then
Yes.
build your product accordingly, you're going to have a leg up in the market.
Yeah. I think a really good example, we talked about, Erin and I both have our own personal product-based businesses, and mine was truly born from a need. So I myself was a postpartum mama, and this really icky thing called night sweats kicked in. I wasn't prepared for
I had them
it.
too. It was awful.
You wake up sweating, not knowing what's wrong. Am I sick? But I don't have a fever, right? All these things. And so Turns out it was just postpartum night sweats due to hormone
But
changes.
no one talks about that.
No
That
one
could be a
talks
whole
about
other
it.
episode.
Yep, whole other episode. So a friend and I were chatting about it, and she knew that I worked in product development, and she basically was having the same experience, and it was really her idea. She came and said, like, there's got to be pajamas out there that really help with night sweats, but ideally they need to be nursing friendly, right? Like her OBGYN said, wear a workout shirt. And it's like, well, that's not comfortable to sleep in, nor
No.
as a nursing mom to have to like
No.
flink off a workout and
Because
leave your
those come up
shirt.
so high.
I know, not friendly at all. So what's crazy is that was a conversation 10 years ago. And now I just brought the product to market literally 6 months ago. But point being is, even in that span of time, as crazy as it was, no one was really addressing the need. I kept checking online. In the meantime, I had bought some competitors' pajamas that were called out for cooling.
Mhm.
So I bought some pajamas that were cooling. I sent them out to some friends that I knew were postpartum and having night sweats and said, hey, I just want to know, do these work? Because, right, if there was something that worked and they just weren't marketing it correctly, like, okay, that still is an
Sure.
opportunity. But I wanted to know because I could tell their fabric content, right? I was buying the pajamas. I was looking at the tags. Okay, what's the makeup of it? But at the end of the day, it wasn't actually solving their night sweat. They were saying that the fabric properties were going to keep you cool at night, right?
Okay.
So they weren't really quick drying. No, they weren't wicking sweat away. And so I knew that there was still, again, this need in the market.
Absolutely.
So then I leveraged a good friend of mine who was a fabric broker. And I said, hey, she literally specializes in jersey fabrics. And I said, I need a fabric that's going to be safe for mom and baby, so low chemical. I need a fabric that's going to wick sweat away and be quick drying, but it also just has to be comfortable, right? It has to be comfortable. And versus me trying to go create this myself, she had a fabric mill that had already been working on some really innovative stuff from an eco standpoint, from a functionality, from a performance standpoint. And so I remember when I found it and I was like, okay, in theory, this sounds great,
Yes.
right? Sounds amazing. And ended up getting a sample made and testing it against what was already out in the market. I went into lactating Facebook groups, people, and found my focus groups. And I said, hey, any mama sweating at night, I'm going to send you some free pajamas. And I actually sent them the ones from the market that I had found, and I sent them mine.
That's smart. So like a control
Yep. And it was a resounding, overwhelming, holy cow, these are the first thing that have worked for me when they put my pajama
Awesome.
fabric on. I slept through the night. So my point is, it was a lot of market swipe, a lot of testing, a lot of
But you
really figuring out the pain point.
You didn't get discouraged by the fact that there was something out there that was cooling already. You knew that was a
Yes.
starting point to actually make what you wanted better.
But I remember the pit in my stomach when I stumbled upon these other pajamas. Like
Yeah.
I can remember being like, oh shit, like
Yes.
someone else has done it.
Yes.
And come to find out, no, they hadn't. You know, they'd gotten closer than maybe the person before them, but they still weren't solving the problem that I was facing, which was sweating at night.
I think that another part of the market research that if people are reluctant to, find what they have an idea for and it's a pit in their stomach, even if it's exactly the same, you can always market it different if you want. You just have to know that you're in for a different road.
Yes.
Your innovation isn't going to be in the product. Your innovation
Yep.
is going to be in who you market to.
Exactly.
Your price point.
So, I mean, if these other companies were missing out on the fact that they weren't actually saying sweat wicking, like, okay, they're lost my game. Wonder how do I make it a little different? But turns out that they really weren't performing, right? So I got a little lucky break there. But I do think that digging deep and doing your research before you even start, for me, again, before I even started sampling, I went and literally probably bought 10 different pairs of pajamas, sent it to these women to test out. And yes, it was a little bit of an investment, but man, it saved me so much money in the long run to know what I'm up against, to understand what fabrics, what yarns, what were working and not working, and what they liked about each of them, right? Oh, these were super soft, but they never dried on me, or these dried well, but they're super dry handed, right? Like all this was feedback for me so that when I actually went to source my item, I had this like dream list of what this magical fabric was going to need. And thankfully, I found something that was already in existence. But had it not been, I was willing to go down the road to create it.
Yeah.
Because
really
I
start from scratch.
really start from scratch. So I kind of went in eyes open that this might be a little bit more of a ground up thing. And again, got lucky.
But I think that's so important is eyes open.
Yes.
Knowing the landscape of the market, and that's what the research is all about, is
Yes.
understanding what you're stepping into. And so that's a lot of times the main reason why we say that market research is like step one.
Yes. And I think in addition to that, price point,
Yes.
because it's the reality at the end of the day, you have to sell this and you have to make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I was buying those 10 pajamas, I was also looking at, okay, I'm up against pajamas that are selling for $39.99 a set at Target, upwards of $159, $169 for luxury, right? And where do you want to fall
Where do you want to fall? Who's your
in there?
customer?
Who's my customer? And can I afford it too, right? At the end of the
Sure.
day, as a startup, my volume is, I'm not going to be buying as much quantity. So
Mhm.
as you go into some of those sourcing conversations with your factories, with your fabric mills, it helps for you to know where you need to be from a price point standpoint to make sure that this idea, again, can make sense. Or you're going to lean on your factory partners, you're going to lean on your fabric mills to say, hey, this is what I want, but can I achieve it at roughly this price?
Sure. And I think at this stage, early on, when people just have the idea, knowing who your customer is and what they're going to pay and what price is available in the market is very important. But also knowing what you're up against from a competition standpoint and what pricing exists is going to come in handy way down the line when you are getting prices from those factories and you're
Yes.
like, wait, am I in line?
Yes.
But if this research wasn't ever done at the beginning, you could get pretty far down the line
Yes.
and be in a tough spot.
Definitely. I think the pre-work you can do there before you have to truly even spend a dime. It's time, right? Invest your time, see what's out in the market. And also it's going to help you again understand what those differentiators, like
Mhm.
where do you want to fit in? Like
Mhm.
where is it your brand? What makes it unique? What makes it different? And make sure you continue that thread throughout your product development life cycle.
And that's interesting because that kind of takes us to the next step of what we want people to think about, which is like your niche.
Yes.
And do you say niche or niche? Because I say niche, but
Well,
then I kind of feel like a heel every time I say
okay,
niche.
no, no, no. I call it I say niche down.
Okay.
But then my favorite saying is the riches are in the niches.
Yeah,
So
because it
I
doesn't
think
work
like,
to say the riches are in the niches.
it just depends on what context you're using it in.
Great. Okay.
So go
So the riches and the niches.
yes,
Perfect.
yes,
Because I think that there are some times that people come to me and they have an idea for a brand.
correct. Yeah,
I want a brand that sells, let's use athleisure for an example.
yeah,
Like, okay, what's the cornerstone of your brand? Like, I don't know, all of athleisure.
yeah,
Those, while possible,
yes,
that is an incredibly hard place to start out at.
correct.
And it honestly doesn't do you justice in terms of finding your ideal customer and becoming well known for something. So many of the really, really successful brands out there right now have started with like one amazing thing,
Yeah, Lululemon, right? Legging,
just the leggings.
legging.
Yes. Sarah Blakely or Spanx with
Yes.
Scrub Daddy.
Oh, Scrub
We both
Daddy.
love Scrub Daddy.
Brilliant invention.
I actually
Brilliant
only
invention.
like the white Scrub Daddies because the yellow ones I feel like take away from the aesthetic of my kitchen. And I
Mm.
think my husband's like, "Have you lost your mind?"
Well, obviously that's yes,
Yeah.
but that's beside the point.
Beside the point. But all that to
Um,
say that putting your effort into one thing that you're really sure is gonna make an impact in somebody's life is the perfect place to start.
especially when you think about testing, like the fact for development and all the things that are going to go in to launch that product, like nailing down one and getting that customer to buy into it, then the upsells the expansion, right?
And I'll be so, honest and vulnerable in this moment in that my first brand that I did was a home decor brand, and that was one of the primary reasons why, in hindsight, I think that it didn't do as well as what I'd hoped is because I had feel like a collection of 20 or so products that I launched with, but there was not one thing that was truly filling a need or
Yeah.
truly a niche,
Yeah.
or it was just like a lifestyle brand, which like I
Mhm.
love lifestyle brands, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
then like Target can do it better, cheaper, faster than me.
Yep.
So that, market research.
Yes.
They launched actually the Threshold brand like right after that, but I didn't have that thing that I could stand on that set me apart enough to maintain success.
Yeah. I think this is all Again, I call it your homework. I call it your pre-sourcing homework, is just really making sure that gut feeling that there is an opportunity. Again, most likely there is, like you felt it for a reason. So I say lean into that. Don't be discouraged if you happen to find something in the market that is similar. Try to work on what makes yours different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think really knowing what you're going in and kind of going up against per se, or the opposite. Maybe there's a huge void
Right.
and it's like, wow, how am I the first to think of this?
Sometimes if there is a huge void, it's because that thing doesn't work. Or sometimes it's like something's not in the market because cost wise for what someone will pay for it, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, with something like the Scrub Daddy, where let's say the Scrub Daddy costs them $2 to make, but they have to sell it for $2. Like that's not going
Yeah.
to work.
Yes.
So if something is more expensive than what you can sell it for, then
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought I'd mention that, like, that's part of the market research
Yeah.
is if people have tried it and failed, or if there's not a way to put it out there at a cost that's actually going to be competitive,
Yes.
it might not have a place.
And while we love philanthropy, trust me, our big philanthropists over here, your business has to make money, right? You have to be profitable. You have to build in for margins. But just know that in order to make a real change in the world, it's going to take a profitable business to let you get there. So we want to make sure that by doing this homework is setting you up on the right path so you know what's up ahead of you. And it's just going to help aid in those conversations as you're developing your product to make sure you're getting exactly where you need to be to get this to market.
So you don't want your factory being the first one to be like, have you ever thought about this price point's viable in the market? Which they're not.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
that research is going to put you in a position where you're able to have these conversations very confidently. But I think the last thing, which you touched on a little bit with Piper and Mint, and I think so important, and most people have, which is the passion.
Mhm.
The passion for their product and knowing that it's something that they in their hearts can be working on for a long time.
Mhm.
I think that sometimes people get ideas and it's maybe a little bit short term of an idea. And then in like 6 months, they're like, I'm not really that interested in that anymore. Well, this is going to, you can come to market quicker, but it has to be something that really your heart's in and your heart's in sticking with.
Definitely. I mean, it takes, as for some of you that are already product-based business owners, the half the battle is the product and the other half is selling it, right? There's a whole other side of this equation that we'll also talk about, which is just the distribution channel, which is how are you getting this product out to market? And so you could have the world's best product, but if you don't have a way to find the people, that's a whole nother hurdle. So my point with saying that is the passion, the ability to keep going when you're going to be faced with some struggles, whether that's on the sourcing side, product development side, whether that's on the sales side, right? Like they will come. And so if this product doesn't light you up, if it doesn't really make you excited every day, whether it's to get out of bed early to write those emails or stay up late if you're a working mom like me and having to do these things kind of outside of other operating hours, it takes a real passion and commitment
And also
to
having your
yourself.
finger on the pulse of the people who are going to be your customers because of your passion for your product.
Yes.
If I had a great idea for, I don't know, an automotive paint, I'm just making this up. It could be a great idea, but like I don't have a passion for cars,
Yeah.
painting cars, or anything that has anything to do with that. So even if I were to invent that great idea, would I have like a heart in the business to even continue marketing it once? Like maybe not.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it.
Agree. I agree. So I think we've covered a lot of ground today with you all, but I think the important part, do your homework, look at your market, look at your competitors or lack thereof. Don't be discouraged. Take it as information. Take it as a way to refine your product idea, refine your go-to-market strategy, relook at the price points that maybe you were thinking of. I think it's just all really, really good, valid information. And also, the one thing I will say, when you have an idea, especially when it's a little bit of an innovative one, you may get some naysayers in the mix too.
You will always get naysayers.
So just because others don't have your dream, don't think that it's not valid or it's not important or it's not meant to be put out in this world. So I also say protect yourself a little bit
Yeah.
with who you're soliciting advice
If someone's
from.
not going to be your customer, don't take their advice to heart.
It's a great call. And sometimes strangers are the better people to give you
They are.
that feedback than the ones you love the most, right? So
The ones we love the most are either going to break our hearts by
yeah,
being like, no, that's not a great idea. Or they're going to be like, yes,
your
you're
best shot.
awesome.
But yeah, I would just say, again, if the passion is there, if it's in the gut, and then you start doing your homework and it just lights you up even more for any of those reasons we just
And there's
talked
the
about,
need.
and there's the need there, sounds like you got a great product. So you need to keep listening and learn what
Yes.
the next steps are for getting your product sourced and getting off the ground. So
Perfect.
that's
This is
all
a
I got.
wonderful
This
episode.
was,
Chock
it was
full.
fun.
It was fast and furious, but
Yep.
there was so much good info.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, we hope to see you guys in the next episode. We cannot wait to see you there. I hope you follow along, subscribe.
Yeah, make sure you're following along on our Instagram, following our YouTube channel. Lots of fun things ahead, lots of free content being posted on there on the regs. So be sure to check it out.
All right. See you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.